7th of January 2021, and Rainbow Farm is on the move again. I don't know exactly how it's going to be, but it looks like we're going to try and do the Southern California BDR from south to north. We're in Yuma right now. Get to the top and then navigate over to maybe Nevada BDR,
the southern portion of it,
and then head south and back down through Arizona, maybe the Peace Trails through there, and then back to Yuma.
Well, we started the California BDR yesterday. We started out in Yuma and did the first 120 miles, which were pretty awesome and pretty. There was some deep sand anticipated, but it wasn't as bad as we thought it would be. It only fell once, so that's a plus. Again on the second section, where we stopped at some ancient desert art, I guess you would call it.
They call them geoglyphs.
Similar to Nazca lines. We saw some of those, and then we camped a little bit further on that loop. Nice quiet spot to sleep last night. Packed up this morning and got a good taste of desert rocks and sand to start off the day.
It's kind of a hard loop to finish there, but okay awakening for the morning.
Now we're continuing on the second leg of the California BDR. We'll see what it has in store for us.
Yesterday we kept on riding through, I guess it would have been section 2, or was it section 1?
Section 2.
Kept on riding through section 2. More sand, kind of some open areas, but generally engaging, good fun. Skeleton Pass was a little bit sandy. Got to a gas station, the Oasis place. Filled up and then still had several hours, so set out on what they would call section 3. The elevation goes up quite a bit. Got up to around 5,300 feet. Definitely cooler. And the landscape changes again. Got more vegetation and trees, Joshua trees, and we came up and over and then back down to around 4,300 feet and found a camp spot next to an abandoned mine and had a nice night. This is what we got going on in the morning.
Today we finished up section 3 and started on section 4 of the California BDR. We woke up at our campsite near Death Valley Mine in the Mojave Desert and continued down the sandy tree track past Joshua trees until we finally got to the interstate, and we had to hop on the interstate a little bit and head towards Primm, Nevada.
Before we got to the interstate, you get to see a few mines. There's a sandy section kind of right after one of the more established mines.
It was a little bit of a struggle, but we made it through. And so we turned off before Primm, Nevada, and you head up past some solar farms. Instead of them being photovoltaic panels, they are mirrors reflecting the sun into a collector. So we drove past those big things and up into the mountains, and our first destination was Coliseum Mine. This was the first technical portion of the California BDR, which didn't prove to be too challenging. We made it up to the mine and checked it out a little bit before heading back down the other side. We came out on a newly paved road that led us further into the Mojave until it broke down into a sandy track again. And we followed it up and over through the mountains until we came down the other side, and we stopped off for a gas break and food break in Shoshone, Nevada.
Be aware that there's not much in the way of groceries there.
We
If
came
you want
out with
lottery
the-
tickets, they have them, but they don't have groceries.
No. But we found some pasta and sauce for $8. And then we continued on the track, and we are outside of Death Valley right now. Today we're going to head into Death Valley National Park and see what it has in store for us.
Made it through all the way to Furnace Creek, going through a pretty neat, I don't know, it's like a pushed up mud area. And then decided we needed to go to BD for whatever groceries we could find. And on the way there, stopped at the Keene mine. They've got like a trolley system that goes all the way up the mine, and decided it'd be a good time to get off the bikes and hike to the top, which is pretty strenuous. Hike up, gained a bunch of elevation, and came to VD to get some groceries. And by then it was getting close to quitting time, so we just went outside of town and found some BLM land to drop the tent down on, and had a nice cool night. I think it was around 28 degrees, 29 degrees last night, so good sleeping weather.
We left our campsite on the BLM land outside of Beatty this morning and headed back on the BDR. I believe we were on section 5, headed into section 6 today. So we started off on Titus Canyon Road, which starts out in flat fields and then slowly climbs until you get into beautiful mountains, and you go up and over Red Pass is when it drops you back down into, I guess, Titus Canyon proper. You start switchbacking down into the canyon. The first attraction that we came across was Leadfield, an old abandoned ghost town that survived for only 6 months. Not much to see there. And then we got deeper into the heart of the canyon through the beautiful limestone cliff walls and the winding road until it opened back up into Death Valley. And then we headed further down into the valley, up and over until we came across Ubahibi volcanic crater, which was a pretty impressive volcanic eruption crater. We checked that out for a little bit and then got back onto the dirt roads to Tea Kettle Junction, strange spot where roads come together and people seem to want to hang their teapots on a sign. Don't know why. And then we took another 5 miles to get to the racetrack in the playa, which is a big flat area, apparently one of the flattest areas on Earth, where there are moving rocks. And we checked those out. And then we headed down one of the technical portions of the BDR. What is it called? Lippincott. Down Lippincott, and now we are in the Saline Valley, headed up a little bit, but we decided we would camp here because we found a beautiful place amongst the boulders.
The pass, I think it's called South Pass, up towards Cerro Gordo Mine. The road actually wasn't too bad. I think they call it an expert section, but had a little bit of snow on it, but then just chugged up. And got to the top. It's an interesting mine that some folks are trying to restore, but it's in a pretty position that kind of overlooks a valley on, I guess it's the Owens River Valley on one side. So we hung up there for a minute and then drove down the good road to the Owens River Valley. Went over to Lone Pine, I believe, and got some provisions and gas and headed out again. looked at that briefly.
And then headed out again to check out Reward Mine. Be cautioned.
What I thought was Reward Mine was not Reward Mine. You actually have to skirt the base of the mountains for a minute and then go up. So I busted my ass going up the wrong mine. But we found the right one and drove in for a bit. It's pretty cool that they let you drive in. It's huge. Left there and headed out again and split at the next expert section and went up into the mountains. It was awesome coming up here. Great riding, kind of get up close to the ridge and up around 9,000 feet, and then we set up camp at around 8,500, which we thought it might have been cold, but we must be in a warm spell here because it's pretty nice. I don't think it got colder than 35 or 36 last night. So all's good.
Motorcycle tracks, human tracks, and mountain lion tracks.
Bristlecone pine forest area before we turned off the pavement and headed back onto dirt. This section was really fun. I went up and over some boulders before dropping down into a small narrow canyon that was kind of shaded and snowy. It had several stream crossings. We had some challenges there, but
a little bit of ice, but not too bad.
Yeah, we made it through it and finally made it all the way back up to 10,000 feet, our highest elevation on the trip so far, with a beautiful view over Bishop and the Sierras. We came down the descent into Silver Canyon, nice switchbacks, stopped in Bishop for supplies, and then headed up to where we are right now, outside of Mammoth at the hot springs.
What we did was left Bishop and did half of the last section of the BDR, but we knew that there was hot springs over here in Mammoth. We hadn't been here in about 15 years, so we had to go check them out because we're hot springs hounds.
And we're gonna get in one this morning. We've already been in one twice already.
So when we woke up in Mammoth yesterday, it was around it was around 18 degrees. Hopped back on the BDR Section 8 just to finish it up over to Benton, and then from there we had to come up with a decision on how to proceed. So there's a Nevada BDR connector, which is basically just riding the highway, which is what we did for a couple hours to get to a town that starts with the T. Can't remember the name of it. Where we got some provisions and then got on the BDR. The Nevada BDR going south, and now we're in I don't know, near the base of some mountains. Had a nice camp spot last night, and it was much warmer. I think it was low 40s. We'll proceed on the BDR until we have a better plan.
I
Las Vegas area before we make a decision on what to do. Right now we are outside of Ash Meadows National Wildlife Refuge. We camped just outside the boundary yesterday in a nice secluded spot, slept well, and this morning we entered into the wildlife refuge, and right now we are at Devil's Hole, which is a cavernous lake that is the home to the pupfish, endangered species of tiny little fish. So we're going to check out this wildlife refuge, then continue south down the Nevada BDR.
Nevada BDR, headed towards a road that I had seen that went into Red Rocks, kind of, I think it's called the Rocky Gap Road. We rode up here. There is about a 200 washed down section that we turned around and then just set up camp a little further down the road at this nice spot. So we're going to head out today. I'm not sure if we're going to get a tire or not, and continue further south. We are camped outside of Oatman, Arizona, which is kind of a ridiculous town in and of itself. Got donkeys running the streets. We're leaving camp yesterday over at the Rainbow National Conserve of some sort. We headed out, decided we weren't going to go to Vegas, and we were going to try and get back to Yuma without changing Warren's front tire. It's a lot wore out, but we'll see if we can get there. So we headed towards Arizona. I think we wanted to try the BDR over in Arizona, but it looks like the weather's going to turn. We've had this really good spell of warm weather, and it looks like in the high elevations it's going to be too cold and snowy. So we're going to try and take the Arizona Peace Trails down to Yuma. So that brought us through the Arizona and Nevada border. Can't remember the name of the town with the casinos, but got supplies over there. A few more decent sections of riding, but meh, just okay. Overall, Nevada kind of washboardy, kind of straight, not all that interesting. And we'll see what kind of riding these trails have to get back to Yuma. On the Arizona Peace Trails. A lot of riding on washboards and big rocks and sand and in washes. I think we're going to camp here tonight because I can't go on anymore. It's raining a bit this morning, so we're going to have breakfast in bed.
Tus besos son sabor a chocolate. 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 Baila mi negra, quiero todo contigo. Tú te vienes conmigo, esta noche es de los dos. Ven, dame cuerdas, si bailas yo te sigo, que nos damos abrigo y de paso.
We're on our last day of heading back to Yuma. Not far out now. Yesterday had a better day, less washboards, nice riding. Ended up kind of camping outside a quartzsite. Stopped early because we knew we didn't have too much longer today. And we got going. Got through some sort of big rocks to start, but did pretty good. Lauren did well. And we're in this kind of pretty wash here. Lauren managed to fill her battery.
Con el calor de este baile, mi corazón late y late, ya sé que mis venas dilaten. Negra, tú tienes los medios, todo en ti son remedios. Curas mis penas y en serio, por ti me voy al cautiverio. Negrita, bonita, me agita, chiquita, mamita, admita que me necesita. Permita, exquisita, que el ritmo que agita la sangre palpita y nos regale amor. Tus besos son sabor